Hello and welcome to 3 Minute Gaming. I'm Nathan, and today I'm going to tell you if this game's worth your time and bandwidth. Today's game is Psychedelica of the Black Butterfly. An Otome visual novel about life, death, and how people deal with grief. Is Psychedelica of the Black Butterfly a story worth reading? Let's find out. Psychedelica of the Black Butterfly is an Otome static visual novel, meaning you play as a girl and most of the side characters are hot bishy boys, but this one has less of a focus on romance and more on how tragedy can affect a group of people and how they deal with their grief accordingly. You wake up in a mansion with no memories of who you are or why you're there, and quickly discover 4 boys who are in the same situation. The mansion owner, as of yet unseen, instructs the crew with the task of repairing a kaleidoscope that will allow them to leave the mansion and regain their memories. The only way to do this, however, is to take out the various monsters that roam the premises, and so, task established, the crew starts monster hunting. The story itself certainly doesn't present itself as original at first, with the idea of collective amnesia across a group of people who clearly have some sort of previous connection is fairly common. However, the game does a good job with its pacing and revealing key parts of these characters' past and how it affects their interactions to prevent it from feeling stale. There's a melancholic atmosphere across the entire experience, which is contrasted by the main character's optimism and friendly approach to problems. The cast includes your usual Otome core, the older brother kind one, the mean off-putting tsundere, the other tsundere, who isn't nearly as mean but seems more depressed, and the overly aggressive near-sexual harasser. The last one might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but I really didn't like Karasuba's big friend zone energy. Oh, and of course there's a mysterious fifth whom you don't really make contact with until about halfway through the game. I don't want to say too much more in fear of spoilers, but as I mentioned, this game is more story and character-rich than romantic, and it focuses heavily on a rather significant incident that unites the core crew and how they chose to deal with it. Their various reactions all feel genuine based on their personalities, making exploring each route interesting to the end. The game structure is also a bit different compared to other visual novels. You have access to a flowchart from the very beginning, and every chapter or so you'll be paused and required to read some side stories before you can continue. These are often just small snippets of character interaction, either before coming to the mansion or during, and they're all genuinely fairly engaging. The last mechanic is butterfly shooting minigame, where you basically run a cursor over butterflies to tag them and then fire to shoot them. There's many endings to find here, though only 2 change the main through line in any significant way, which I really liked because it meant the side routes added to the overall story rather than feeling like completely different things. And that's basically the gist here. Psychedelica of the Black Butterfly is a visual novel with some pretty art and music, a lot of troubled bishy boys to chat up, and some unique approaches to the genre. So what did I like about Psychedelica of the Black Butterfly? Well, the story is very engaging, with the mysteries reveals being distributed very well across both the main route and secondary routes, and the pacing for the main story very brisk, as most of the more filler-like character stuff is regulated to the optional side stories. Initially, I genuinely ended up liking all of the characters except Karasuba by the end, enough that I wanted to do all of their routes completely. Also, the MC actually has a character and a character arc, which doesn't seem to happen as much as you'd think in Otome games. And lastly, the art in this game is gorgeous, as you can probably see, with it being highly dreamlike and exaggerated, but paired with some equally stylized UI and character designs. I also really like the music. When it comes to the bad, the butterfly shooting minigame just sucks, full stop. I played it with both touch on the Vita and a controller, and neither was very fun. Additionally, it can be confusing on how to get a lot of specific character routes, as you'll see a split in the flowchart, but a decision won't pop up until you fulfill some strict unstated requirements later in the game. You will need to use a guide to 100% this. And lastly, there's both some translation and general writing issues I ran into. This includes more than a little of the casual sexism that creeps into Otome games, as well as some repetition of story beats or plot points on the final route that hurt this game's otherwise excellent pacing. As you know, I rate games here on a 3-point scale: must play, maybe consider, and don't bother. And I really liked Psychedelica of the Black Butterfly, and I'm honestly surprised that it doesn't get recommended more, and as such I think it's a hidden gem. The story's excellent pacing and well-written cast kept me engaged through every ending. If you enjoy visual novels that don't waste your time and have strong emotional cores, you should absolutely be checking out Psychedelica of the Black Butterfly. It is more than meets the eye. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Have you played Psychedelica of the Black Butterfly or its sequel? Please let me know in the comments what you think. Regardless, I do highly recommend going out there and giving it a shot.